Spider-Man is amazing in Marvel Rivals and he's considered a difficult hero to play, but don't worry. In this guide, I'm going to teach you how to play him effectively and how to have fun with him. When you break it down, Spider-Man is a duelist who is great at taking out other heroes with powerful combos, but since he doesn't have much health, you often want to get behind opponents or flank them, do your damage, and then get out. You do not want to get into long drawn-out fights with Spider-Man because most likely you will not survive them. Generally speaking, you're going to find yourself webbing up other players and hitting them with your abilities and attacks, then swinging away from the action in order to heal or recharge. While this isn't necessarily a hard and fast rule, you generally want to take out supports and healers first if you can. And of course, that doesn't mean you can't fight other full-strength heroes, but you just want to be very selective, very careful about which battles you enter, and you have to be ready to get out at a moment's notice. Part of being a good Spider-Man is knowing which battles to pick and which battles to avoid. In order to master Spidey, you're going to need to have quick thinking, confidence, and you're going to need to build up a lot of map knowledge over time, because you'll often go to areas of the map that are empty as you kind of swing quickly around the map in order to get behind the opposition or to the side of them, so you really need to know what you're doing, and that comes with repetition and practice. You can also play Spider-Man in that oh my god he's so annoying role by constantly drawing attention of your opponents away from the main battle, simply because you can cover so much ground. You can get in behind to do some damage, get out, take the focus away. But your main goal should be to get as many eliminations as you can, but it's not always going to be possible, right? Sometimes matches will be tough, or sometimes you'll have bad matchups, so in those types of situations, just annoy the opponents as much as you can, draw their attention, and let your teammates finish them off. In any case, no matter how you choose to play Spidey, the core principle is the same. Get in quickly, do a lot of damage, get out quickly. Now, if you played a lot of other Spider-Man games, web swinging might feel a little bit awkward at first. You might think, oh, this feels more like a power-up than a true swing. But by default, the game automatically picks where your webs attach. You can change this in the individual hero settings in your controls so that you can actually give yourself full control of your swing. So where you aim, you're going to swing. Changing this setting also enables you to web zip horizontally, which is super handy. Just remember, when you're doing that, you kind of have to aim a bit lower than you might think. Otherwise, you're going to trigger the full kind of parabola swing. When it comes to swinging, I recommend starting out with the default web swinging and then turning off the automatic aspect of it as you get more comfy. And by the way, you can use Spider-Man's Uppercut to cancel his swing and maintain momentum, so that's just another fun way of getting around the map in a quick fashion. And you can also jump out of the swings. This won't carry your momentum, but it'll kind of interrupt or cancel the swing. Now, in general, Spider-Man behaves how you would expect him to. His swings are big, they're fast, you can do 3 of them before a cooldown. You can also double jump, and you can jump onto surfaces to crawl or hang or run on them, just, like Spider-Man would. But however, this can feel a little bit finicky at times. After all, this isn't a standalone Spider-Man game, but in your hero controls, you can mess around with the wall run and the crawl settings to your liking, so I recommend just trying out those different settings, finding what you like, because sometimes you can get into situations where you're crawling on a wall where you didn't really want to do that. When it comes to movement though, with Spider-Man, you generally want to have the high ground whenever possible. This makes it easier to dive in, get those eliminations. Plus, your web swinging will ensure that you have easy access to the sky whenever you want. The fact you can double jump and stick to surfaces is a great bonus and of course fits Spider-Man properly, but you usually won't be crawling around slowly because you'll be on the move, you'll be a very fast character. Now let's talk about your attacks and abilities. So your basic attack is a small melee combo if you hold down the button. It's sort of just like one little punch if you just tap it, and it does more damage to webbed enemies. Keep in mind that if you do this attack after a double jump in the air, you'll do a slam down melee attack instead of your usual punches and kicks. Your second attack is your web cluster, which fires web at your opponent and has 5 charges that reload individually. This is a very important attack and mostly how you're going to be starting combos, which we'll get into later, but basically, the web cluster attaches something called a spider trace to your opponent if it lands, and it's what kind of gives you more damage on your combos and basic attacks. Make sure you keep an eye out on those charges though, because it can be extremely easy to run out of web really quickly if you're just holding down the attack button for it. Web clusters do more damage than you might think, by the way, but they're slow moving, so oftentimes you have to lead your target when firing at them. That means you kind of have to aim where they're going as opposed to where they are, unless they're just standing still. Now, as you'd expect, Spidey has more web powers he can use. The Get Over Here ability pulls enemies towards you, which can be super useful for repositioning opponents during team fights, but the web pool's true brilliance lies elsewhere. So, if you hit an opponent with a web cluster, remember, you apply a spider trace, and then if you do your Get Over Here web pool, you actually travel to the opponent, enabling you to do your super duper pooper powerful bread and butter combos that we'll get into. But again, you apply the web, you do your Get Over Here, and you actually go to your opponent. They don't come to you. This get over here web pull ability is super crucial for Spider-Man, and now let's move on to another one of his crucial moves, which is his uppercut that's called Amazing Combo. So it's not a combo, it's an uppercut, it's just called Amazing Combo. This uppercut does area effect damage around Spider-Man and it launches opponents in the air. Plus, if you do it to an opponent that has Spider Trace on them, you'll do a lot more damage. So you web the opponent, you get in on them, you do an uppercut, and your uppercut is absolutely the most essential tool for wiping out other players and the meatiest part of your main combos that we're going to be talking about. Just keep in mind it's got 2 charges, but they individually reload and there's a cooldown between them as well. So it's not something you can endlessly spam. Next up, let's talk about Spider-Man's ultimate ability called Spectacular Spin, and it truly is spectacular. Basically, Spider-Man goes crazy, he gets a bunch of extra health and he attacks enemies with his web in a big radius around him, and if you use it at the right time, it can be a team fight winning move, or it can even be a get out of jail free card. It applies slowing effects to enemies, and it can even stun them with enough stacks. So really, this is the kind of move that can single-handedly turn the tide of a battle. You can even wipe out entire teams with it potentially. My favorite way to use this move is to quickly drop in on a group of enemies in a team fight and wipe out as many as possible, or to simply force a retreat. Even if you don't get any eliminations or don't necessarily force a retreat, but you still do a lot of damage, that's good because your teammates can finish off the opposition. Now then, let's talk about your 2 main combos as Spider-Man. So let's start with the first combo. Step 1. Web up your opponent with as many web clusters as you can in the moment. Step 2. Use your get over here web pull to travel to the opponent quickly. Step 3, trigger your uppercut. So if you landed 3 webs on your opponent before uppercutting them and they're a 250 HP hero, congrats, you just wiped them off the face of the earth. And actually, you know what, there's a secret step 4 here. After the uppercut, run away. Swing away. Step 4, always swing away. So, of course, you'll be in all sorts of situations and can't always guarantee an elimination just from those 3 or 4 steps. So if you find yourself not eliminating the opponent after the uppercut, or if they just have too much HP, you can start using your primary attack or web clusters if they're running away to finish them. But you have to be extremely aware of your surroundings, and you have to be ready to instantly swing away if the other team starts targeting you, because if you go in for the elimination and the opponent sandwiches you, that's it for you. You're not going to be able to come back from that. This first combo will take care of you often, but you won't always be able to fire off a lot of web clusters, or you might be playing against good opponents that react quickly to them. So here's a more advanced version of this combo that you'll want to know. Step 1, you want to web up your opponent once if they have 250 HP, or twice if they have 275. Step 2, you want to travel to the opponent with your web pull. Step 3, you want to use your uppercut again, but here is where things change. So as soon as your uppercut animation is done, you want to be jumping. So you're doing a mid-air jump, which counts as your second jump. So as soon as that uppercut animation is done, you jump. If you do it too fast or too slow, this won't work. There is like a nice little window of time that you'll get with practice. So that's step 4, right? You jump after the uppercut. And then step 5, aim down at your opponent and do your primary attack quickly, because remember, when you do your primary attack after double jumping in the air, it becomes a slam down melee attack. And if you end the combo with this slam down melee attack, you can take out 250 HP opponents and 275 HP opponents with this combo. So again, you need to web them once if they have 250 HP, or twice if they have 275. As always, step 6 would be here to run away, run away, run away. What's great about this combo is that it makes you less reliant on your webs, because aiming in the heat of the battle, it can be tricky. People are really good at movement, that kind of thing, but it does make you spend more time in the air. So I recommend having both combos in your kind of toolkit, in your arsenal, practicing them both, because you want to use them at different times. You don't want to always use the same combo over and over again, especially because your opponents will eventually figure out what's going on. By the way, if you have Venom on your team, you have a team-up ability that you can use to end these combos with your Suit Explosion ability that does awesome damage. You don't even have to use as many web clusters on lower HP characters if you're going to end it with a Suit Explosion. In this case, 1 web cluster is enough for a 250 HP opponent, but of course the game will get lots of patches over time, so that amount can always change. We'll see how that goes, but right now, if you want to take care of a 250 HP opponent with your Venom Suit Explosion power as Spider-Man, then you web them up once. Oh, and the Suit Explosion can be cancelled with a web swing or just by pressing the same button again. It does last for a while otherwise. And another team-up ability that Spidey has is with Squirrel Girl, so Spidey gets plus 10% damage passively, and she gets a stun projectile, which is cool. Now then, Spider-Man is amazing. I love him, but his potential is limited by how quick you can be in the game and how clever you can be with your decision making. He's the kind of character that waits for the right time to strike, so if you don't have that patience, you might not enjoy him, or if you don't enjoy the process of failing, learning, and then readjusting in the future, you might not enjoy him. So even if you can technically pull off everything he does, if that's not a playstyle that you think you like or that you try and don't like, then Spider-Man might not be the character for you. His low HP makes him extremely easy to defeat in direct combat, and characters who can interrupt the usefulness of his movement, like Loki or Scarlet Witch, can be pretty dangerous. And it almost goes without saying, but he's not always super useful in tight spaces because so much of Spider-Man's quality is directly related to the fact that he can basically own the whole map with his swinging. But if you're in a very tiny room or corridor, you might find yourself a bit limited. But I don't think any of these weaknesses make Spider-Man a bad character. I think he's a fantastic character, and if none of those weaknesses sound like a deal breaker for you, then probably you're gonna have a great time playing as Spider-Man. Oh, and before I forget, Spidey also has a spider sense, so you get those little squiggles above your head when you sense an enemy is nearby. It's not the most useful thing in the world, but it doesn't hurt to have either, because some characters can go invisible and stuff like that, so it's a cool little thing. So folks, I want to know what you think about Spider-Man and Marvel Rivals. Let me know in the comments below if you think he's great, if he's bad, how you would change him, or if you like him the way he is. Let me know if you have any questions about Spider-Man. Let me know what other guides for Marvel Rivals you want to see, whether it's character specific or mechanic specific, whatever the case may be. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.